dear skinny girls, let me tell you a story. I started working out just over 2 years ago now, and when I tell you that I've literally transformed in every single area of my life, I'm not exaggerating. And before you go saying, oh, it's probably just because you've got great genetics, I need to show you this. I grew up super skinny, and no matter what I tried, I just couldn't seem to gain weight in a healthy way. And I was constantly being called out for being too skinny, and I know I'm not the only one out there, but I felt really insecure about it. Look, I know my 2-year transformation isn't as dramatic as you might expect, especially when you're seeing so many of these fitness influencers filling your Explore page. But the truth is, this is what genetics gave me, and my progress has not been linear. There have been times where I've literally thrown any chance of seeing results out the window, and I didn't even realise. The biggest one probably being when I started uni and decided that I wanted to start playing basketball. Instead of focusing on eating food and doing at least some sort of resistance training, I was sitting on the bench at least 99% of the time, and then the other percent of the time I was barely able to run up and down the court without feeling absolutely gassed because I had literally zero energy. And then there was the period where I actually started the gym, but I was super inconsistent. I went about once a week because I felt so embarrassed that I had no idea what I was doing. But the thing is, even if you took those 2 setbacks and completely evaporated them so that they never even happened in the first place, when I was training consistently, I was still making some fundamental mistakes that I didn't even realize I was making that was keeping me skinny and massively slowed down muscle growth. I used to say, no one understands, I just can't build muscle because I eat so much food, I must have a really fast metabolism. But if I could go back and give my younger self just one piece of advice, and I think this is something that most skinny girls who struggle to put on muscle mass will need to hear. Girl, you need to eat to grow. You need to eat more. There is no one perfect number of calories. There's no one size fits all because we're all different. I know like the standard amount that a woman's supposed to eat is 2,000 calories per day, and that's just to maintain your current weight. But this is complete nonsense. Well, it's not complete nonsense, but this is going to vary massively depending on the individual. Some people do have a faster metabolism, some people have a slower metabolism, and the fact is, if you're not growing, you need to eat more. It doesn't matter what that number is, it just matters that you're getting enough food in, you're fueling your body properly to actually see the results that you want to see. Being a skinny girl, I've got a lot of comments from people saying, oh, you must starve yourself. And honestly, that is completely false. I eat more than the average male. And I am not exaggerating. Most of us really underestimate the amount of calories that we actually need to eat to build muscle, because chances are it's a lot higher than the number that you think it's going to be. And even though at the time I thought I was eating enough, I thought I was eating a lot of food, it turns out it just wasn't enough because I wasn't tracking, so I didn't actually know how much food I was really eating. I'm not saying you're gonna have to eat over 3,000 calories to gain muscle, but I'm saying it's probably gonna be a higher number than you think it is. One concern that a lot of us skinny girls have when we're starting to eat more is that we wonder if the weight that we're gaining is actually gonna be muscle mass or if the majority is gonna come from fat mass. So going into a small calorie surplus, starting off with 200 to 300 calories is gonna minimize the amount of fat mass that you gain, but maximize the amount of muscle mass that you gain. And over time, you'll be increasing these calories. And as you do that at a steady rate, it's going to keep your body composition in a place where you want it. So you're going to be gaining some fat mass, yes, but the majority of it's going to be muscle mass and also water retention. That's one thing that a lot of people always forget about, and suddenly when they increase their calories, they see a massive jump in scale weight. Most of that's going to be water. Don't freak out. It's not going to be fat mass because your body physically cannot put on fat that quickly. But I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to track your calories just to make sure that you are consistently eating enough. Because on those days where I didn't track my calories, like we went on holiday and I lost weight because I wasn't tracking my calories and I wasn't making sure that I was actually eating enough. The other thing that you want to make sure you're keeping track of is your protein intake, because if you're not eating enough protein, then your body's not going to have the building blocks it needs to build new muscle tissue. So aim for at least 1 gram per pound of body weight each day. And I've actually written a whole guide on this. I've got a few other videos, so I'll put them in the description. If you're someone who finds it hard to get in enough protein from your diet alone, then that's where things like supplements and protein powders can come in really handy, because you can literally make a shake, grab it, and run out the door. It's liquid, so those liquid calories are going to be easier to consume. You're not going to feel as full afterwards. and you'll be getting your protein in. I always look back and think to myself, what if I actually had eaten more at the start of my fitness journey? Like when I was training initially in the gym, because I got those newbie gains going on, and I would actually have been fueling myself properly, so I would have been able to see progress so much faster. It's just annoying. It's just annoying at this point. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that you train hard because we know how important it is. And I personally trained so hard. Like I was training my butt off in the gym every single day. And yeah, if the food had been there, then we would have seen a lot more progress. Next massive thing is you need to be prioritizing your recovery. And saying sleep is important is an understatement. Just promise me you're gonna start getting at least 7 hours of sleep. Please. At the start of this year, I hit a pretty massive plateau. Like none of my weights were increasing in the gym, my weight on the scale wasn't increasing either, no matter how much food I was eating, just nothing was moving at all. And then I used this thing called a deload week. So I took my training easier, like I cut the sets in half, I reduced the weight by half, and I wasn't pushing to failure in any of the exercises. And it made such a big difference. But essentially I was still doing my usual sessions because I need to go to the gym just for the mental aspect, but the intensity was nowhere near as intense as it would usually be in your typical week. I was still making sure that I was getting my calories in, I was hitting my protein, and at the end of that week, when I went back to my normal style of training and like the normal intensity, I was so much stronger. My weight went up, the weights I was able to lift went up, the plateau unplateaued, I was able to progress again, and everything just like got kick-started, all because I'd prioritized my recovery for 1 week. I'd made the conscious decision to take my rest more seriously, and it really paid off. I always used to think that doing more was better and doing more would get me more results because that's what made sense in my head, but it doesn't quite work like that. And when we do these things like deload weeks, suddenly your whole perspective and like your whole understanding of everything just shifts a little bit, and you start to understand yourself and how your body works just that little bit better. And when you start understanding your body better in these ways, it means that you can use these tools like deload weeks, increasing calories and protein and stuff like that to massively increase your results. Although I'm not saying that everyone's gonna have to go and take a deload week right this second. I'm saying if you're someone who trains super hard pretty regularly, then it's a useful tool that you could be using. Another thing that made a really noticeable difference in my physique was changing the way that I was training. So when I started the gym, the way I approached my training was I went in the gym, I saw what equipment was free, went and used that, went for the things that looked most easy to understand how they worked, like things like dumbbells, maybe if I'd googled the exercise beforehand, or machines with a little sticker on them that told me what to do. And I didn't have a solid plan. Anyone else's parents used to tell them that no plan was a plan to fail. I'd forgotten about that at that point. I went and used some Instagram workouts, as you do, but I was still kind of here, there and everywhere. Like I wasn't tracking my weights, I was just lifting what I thought I could lift that day. If my energy was low, I was like, stuff it, let's just use the lightest dumbbell there, because it's still lifting, and that's good because it's something, and something is better than nothing. Eventually, after way too long, many months of faffing around, I finally realised that I needed an actual plan. I needed to include progressive overload. We all know how important progressive overload is. And eventually I came up with this plan that I took with me to the gym. I just wrote it out in my notes app. I included the weights I was lifting, how many reps, and I tried to increase the weights I was lifting every single week, or increase the number of reps I was lifting. And finally, I actually started to see noticeable changes. And I think that's the moment where I really became a gym girl. And I know it's the same for a lot of us gym girlies. You suddenly start seeing these tiny little results, like, oh, there's a tiny bit of glute there now, and suddenly you're hooked. So I started training really hard. But that was still the point where I wasn't eating enough, so I wasn't getting as fast results as I could have got. However, my initial plan was definitely not the best plan. Personally, I don't think there is such a thing as a best plan, because everyone's gonna adapt differently to different workout plans and training splits and all that. But I think I was training glutes like at least 4 times a week. And girl, I know we all want to grow the glutes, but there is such a thing as too much glutes, because the amount of leg days I had meant that I wasn't giving my body that recovery time, so I was pretty much self-sabotaging and destroying any chance of any glute growth. I actually just recently created 4 free workout programs that you can download in the description just to suit everyone's needs, because when I had that structured training plan in place, that's when I saw the best results. And trust me, if you're starting the gym now, like if you're just getting into things, then having that structured plan in place is going to help you go a lot further, a lot faster. Now, I'm not saying that since I got my training on point, my glutes are now the most massive dump truck you've ever seen in the world, but I am saying that I've seen so much progress from starting, like from literal zero. The progress is progressing. Another muscle group that I was really self-conscious about when I started training was just how skinny my arms were. People were telling me that they look like sticks, and I know that sounds mean, and it was, but I see where they were coming from. To really bring up my arms, I focused on doing isolation exercises that would target the specific muscle groups. So the tricep actually makes up 2/3 of the size of your arm, so targeting your triceps is very important, and then obviously the biceps as well, and the shoulders. It took a while to build up that muscle because building muscle takes time, but using those exercises really helped. But then again, none of those gains actually started happening, like at least at a decent rate, until I was eating enough. So if you take anything away from this video, it's that you need to be eating enough. I trust that you're training hard, you're putting in the work, but just getting enough calories in is going to take your training and your progress and all of your results just to a whole new level. I wish I would have known 2 years ago that if I'd stayed consistent with, yes, my training, but also my nutrition and my rest and recovery, that I could have got so much better results than I currently have today. And that's not taking any credit away from the results that I currently have, because I am pretty much unrecognizable from the girl that I was 2 years ago. And it's just mind-blowing to me. I don't understand, because another part that I didn't realize is how much of like the mental side of things that gaining weight would actually affect. So I'm so much more confident than I've ever been ever before, and I give a lot of that credit to gaining weight, and gaining weight in a healthy way that's made me feel more confident. I've been able to put myself out there in situations that I never would have dreamed of 2 years ago. I know I've not really done a video quite like this on my channel for a while now, so if you found it motivational, if you found it informative, let me know, because I've kind of been second guessing and rethinking my content quite a lot recently. I always try and make the next video better than the last video, which is really good for the content, but it's just not great for my overthinking. I really appreciate you, and if there's anything that you wish you could have told your younger self when you started working out, please drop it in a comment below, because I'm sure it would really help someone else who's reading the comments. See you in the next one.